We'll also be getting into a little bit on the genders. What we think there are two sexes here. Actually, there are three sexes, and you could say male, female, and androgynous. But more accurately, there are three sexes: Ire, Mane, and Manu. All right, they are the three sexes. They are the three primal force fields, source. And when we see male, when we think of the word male, what we are talking about is Mane. And when we see or talk about female, we are talking about Ire. And when we see an androge, which would be, if you wanted to use male and female, that would be androge as the third gender. It could be a hermaphrodite, where it might have boy and girl parts, or it could be a eunuch, where it had neither. Right? It has a different orientation to sexual energy runnings, and therefore different feelings, different types of attraction versus non-attraction. But these are the three genders, and technically you can call them androgynous and male and female, but more accurately they are Mane, Ire, and Manu. And they're each just as holy as the other, and they each have specific purposes in relation to running energy just on personal levels or even in collectives. Say if you have a whole bunch of Mane people on a planet and a whole bunch of Ire people on a planet and a whole bunch of Manu people on a planet. They all do something together that affects the entire planet in either a positive or negative way. So we'll learn a bit about the three genders. And there are also natural orientations, 4 basic natural orientations. You have heterosexual, you have homosexual, you have bisexual, and you have asexual. Yeah, I keep trying not to fit into the last category. So I think I did them all in my other lifetimes. This time it's like, hello down there. Come on, elementals, wake up. Right? Because asexual, they actually really, really are, and it's normal, and it doesn't deserve labels, and it's not because they have an issue or a hang-up. There are people who really have no sex drive in terms of what other people call a sex drive. They have it, but it's a drive. It's a passion, but it doesn't circulate in the same intensity in the lower chakras. It tends to be more associated with higher chakras and being able to go up and out higher. And that doesn't mean it's higher better, that kind of stuff like, oh, you're just in your base chakra. A lot of that snooty spiritual stuff, that's nonsense. Because if you can't get into your base chakra, you're not going up very far because you need to take your base chakra with you, right? So there are different leanings with each of these types of the three genders, and each of the three genders can have any one of those orientations, or be a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one. So when people start pointing fingers at people that are homosexual and calling them bad names and telling them they don't have a right to be Christian and all this, boy, that makes me angry. Because you know what? No, I won't say that. I'll probably get shot. I'm just saying, once upon a time there was a man I once knew who used to be my brother, half-brother, and he liked boys and girls. I just put it that way, and I'm not going to go any further than that. But anybody who knew Miriam might know who I'm talking about. And it was natural. If we could get rid of some of the garbage filters we have been fed to manipulate and control people and turn people against people and make them hate each other. All right? If somebody is gay, that does not mean they are deviant. It means they're obviously not in a heterosexual form. All right? Now, they can be any of the three genders, but they have a dominant leaning or a dominant set of filters that are the structure of their light body that create a natural attraction of polarities in energy that comes out toward same sex. But you will just, you'll find, even in same-sex couples, there is still one that runs more Mane and one that runs more Ire. So you still have guy and girl. Sometimes they'll flip back and forth, which is actually heterosexual, homosexual couples actually have a little bit easier way of doing this, where sometimes, like, you're the guy and I'm the girl, and sometimes I'm the guy and you're the girl. Sometimes you're running more Mane, sometimes I'm running more Mane. They actually have a bit more flexibility as far as switching it. People who are very, very heterosexual, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, too. It's not as if each one is a different stage of evolution and you outgrow one to grow up into the other. Some people look at it that way, and it isn't that way. They each are holy, they each are sacred, they each are natural. And they each have the ability to create certain types of energy. and co-creations, make certain types of links through the light body. And they are all sacred. They all have different purposes. There are some that are certain combinations that can create huge healing fields that can affect, like, say, plant kingdoms. There are certain combinations that can affect manifestations, huge manifestations. Say if you wanted to manifest a set of events, and there are ways you can combine energy. It's all about combining different types of energy with various compatible polarities. That's what sexual attraction is, and it's governed by the chemicals that are generated by the elemental forces that are generated by the structure of your light body and its function or dysfunction. So if anybody's going to get upset with me here, I would honestly say, if you really have to hate homosexuals, if you really have to insist that everybody should get horny and there's something wrong with a guy or a girl that doesn't, if you really have those beliefs and you feel really strongly about it, and I'm really ticking you off by saying it's different, we'll refund your money and you can leave, because you won't like anything that I have to say if you really are attached to those ideas. All right? Honestly, when I look at things of what's been done on this planet, it's really heartbreaking, because there are people who have been taught to hate other people because of the color of their skin. There are people who are white and hate blacks. There are people who are black and hate whites. There are people who are Israeli and hate Palestinians, and Palestinians who hate Israelis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Bigotry. Bigotry it's a twisted thought form that has created such misery where people could actually love and understand each other and help each other through the problems of this planet. It's instead turned them against each other in order for one to feel better than the other, because they didn't feel very hot about themselves in the first place. There is one more area that bigotry is applied, and it's reinforced by religions on this planet that are distortions of the natural Christian teachings, and not just Christian, because the original, what we call the Christ teachings, belonged to they were Buddhaic teachings, they were Christian teachings, they were the Islamic teachings, all of those things, all put together, all right? These were the original teachings of the Christ, the Allah, the Buddha. These all have to do with the starborn cycle and the signature, the name signature, the original holy names that had to do with the vibrational frequencies of the original parts that created creation. All right. So bigotry is something that is hate-based. And if you point, it doesn't matter where you point it. If it's because somebody has a certain skin color, if it's because somebody has a certain partner of a certain gender and you don't think that's all right, who the hell are you? Is my answer to that. Who do you think you are to pass that kind of judgment on another person? Who are you as a white person to hate a black person, just to hate people because they're black? Who are you as a black person to blame white people for all the stuff that black people went through? Excuse me, I wasn't back there at that time, okay? If I had an incarnation that was part of the slave trade, I apologize now. But you know what? I wouldn't make that choice, all right? That might have been an aspect from before. But I'm not going to hate you, and I hope you won't hate me. Bigotry is enemy number one. You can be a bigot in many, many ways, where you start passing judgment on somebody else's way, where they're not doing anything to you directly, but you're passing judgment on them, and you're looking down your nose at them, and you're even cursing them under your breath. Or you're going out and standing on podiums and preaching that God said, this is evil. Who the hell are you? And that's what I say to any of the priests and ministers and popes on this planet, because it is a blasphemy of the highest level for anybody to take sacred sex and to turn it into perversion that is used as a way to divide and conquer individuals that are aspects, that are faces, sparks of the consciousness of God's source. And that is what's been done on this planet. So excuse me if I get a little bit passionate about that one, because there is so much harm being created by that. There are so many people that try so hard, say, to be heterosexual because they can't bear the thought of what hell their life is going to turn into if they actually find out they're homosexual. Or maybe they realize that, even if I were married to a girl, I still wouldn't want to have sex. Maybe they're asexual, and they're tried real hard not to be frigid, and they find themselves doing stuff called having sex just because it's the only way to have a relationship with somebody who'll stay. There are people who go through this one, where they'd really prefer to never, ever have to use those parts directly on the outside. And that is okay, too.